mlango wa mkulima kuwa mshindi, kuwa na uhakika sasa, kulea mustakabali wa baadaye. Tufanye kazi pamoja na tukue pamoja, kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Kenya. Kuwa mkono ambao
well, indeed, welcome. This is a momentous occasion because this is the premiere of the Farm Kenya show, where the beauty of the countryside meets the excitement of innovation. We're here today to enable you to join us as we'll delve into the heart of farming, showcasing the passion, the challenges, and the bountiful harvests that define Kenya's agricultural landscape. Indeed, get ready to cultivate knowledge, sow inspiration, and reap the rewards of the land. My name is Peter Akaba, and Farm Kenya is here again, working to help you secure your growth as a farmer or participant in the farming value chain. Now we have a great show lined up for you. If you're looking to get into farming or along that value chain, or indeed would like some great tips on just how to make your venture even more successful, keep it right here. Why? Because later on in the show, we will have a panel session that has some very special guests with very inspiring stories indeed. Kama wewe ni youth, this is where you should be, so keep it here. You don't want to miss this one. Why? Well, let me show you. We have guests in studio, and these guests essentially come with quite a bit of, so to say, pull, a bit of kick, and a bit of influence in the agriculture sector. First off, Ronald Dianga. Ronald has over 5 years' experience. He's an agripreneur and is the founder and executive chairperson of the Kenya Rava Group. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And of course, the one lady in the house we hope to do much better in future, Wangari Kuria, aka Farmer on Fire. Of course, she will be telling us why that is the case. She has quite a bit of background and is in the front line in a partnership with global partners with a focus on small farmers, working to reduce barriers for the youth and women in their entry into agribusiness. And of course, last but not least, Jahail Oliver, CEO, Hello Tractor. Of course, needing no introduction, this is a technology company that is working to ease the supply of agricultural equipment to farmers in various diverse places. I am one of the people who has tried that out in the past, and I can tell you a story. But before all that, as I said, we have a great show lined up for you. We want to get into the stories of the day and, of course, bring you up to speed on what's happening in the latest in the agriculture sector. Now, when we said we want to start right at the top, that is exactly what we'll do. And this time, President William Ruto has warned that stern action will be taken against persons who are taking advantage of the subsidized fertilizer program and duping unsuspecting farmers by selling them fake seeds as well as fertilizers. Now, speaking during the Kakamega International Investment Conference recently, the president said that already some unscrupulous business people had been arrested. The head of state further tipping counties to become the next frontiers of investment and indeed shun politics that impede development. Alan Ochanda with that story.
Reports of unsuspecting farmers falling prey to unscrupulous business persons selling fake fertilizers and seeds have left farmers agitated and counting losses.
Kakamega Digital.
President William Ruto issuing a stern warning to those taking advantage of the program.
We are also going to make sure that those who sell fake seeds or fake fertilizer face the music that they deserve. We have arrested some of the characters who want to take advantage of our fertilizer supply program, and we have already many more who are already facing court because we must eliminate corruption. We must deal with those who want to sabotage our fertilizer program firmly, effectively, and conclusively.
Reducing the cost of fertilizer to increase farm yields was one of his pre-election promises, and the alleged fake fertilizers and seeds flooding the market could taint the initiative. The farmers now clinging on to his assurance of dealing with the rogue business people.
Thank you so much.
Speaking during the Kakamega International Trade Conference, the head of state tipped the counties to be the next frontiers of investment, given most crucial functions are already devolved.
This is the time that you want to showcase what Kakamega has in terms of agriculture value chains, in terms of dairy value chains, poultry value chains. We have opportunities in health. We are looking forward to seeing our level 6 hospital being completed, equipped and operationalized. So that is an opportunity to our investors.
Counties under the Lake Region Economic Bloc LREB, according to the county chiefs, account for 40% of the country's population and have a significant contribution to the economy.
The Lake Region Economic Bloc has 40% of the Kenyan population and contributes to almost 50% of the Kenyan economy. The overall objective of the bloc is to leverage economies of scale and shared resources in order to grow the economy of the region and improve the livelihoods of our people.
In showcasing the rich and exploited potential, leaders from the 14 counties said should the ideas be harnessed, then job opportunities will be created.
So there's been a lot of rural-urban migration, and the population has really grown tremendously. So this commodity is not really adequate, and that's why I've mentioned that we really need to do a lot of investment in enhancing our production facility to get a lot of water to be able to supply.
President Ruto terming the conference as a template for African heads of states.
Indeed, interesting developments there in Western Kenya. Now, apart from that fake fertilizer that we mentioned there, unscrupulous traders appeared to be determined, despite the efforts of government, to rip off unsuspecting farmers during the planting season. Now, this is after a fake and counterfeit maize seed syndicate was exposed in Nakuru County following a raid conducted by security agencies in collaboration with KEFIS in Njoro. Now, a businessman who is in police custody was found processing ordinary maize seeds valued at about 13 million shillings and packaging them as products of the Kenya Seed Company. Seed dressing machines and chemicals, among other items, were nabbed during that raid. So that's the machine that...
Kelfi na Kenya Seed wakaja na DCI kufanya uchunguzi pale, wakaenda wakapata ya kwamba kuna kampuni iko hapo karibu Ngof Estate in Njoro ambayo iko licensed kama sehemu ya kuuza mbao. Baada ya kuingia pale wakapata ya kwamba kuna seeds ambazo ziko nyuma yetu, ziko na they are counterfeited, ziko na makaratasi ya Kenya Seeds, na walipata 101 kg ya treated maize, which means ilikuwa tayari ikitoka iuziwe wakulima wetu. Wakapata undressing seed machine, wakapata ngunia 18 ambazo zilikuwa untreated, mahindi ambayo ilikuwa inangojea tu kuwekwa ndawa na kupakiwa iuzwe, na wakapata stickers za Kenya Seeds which are counterfeit.
We are talking about 60,000 kilos of seed divided by 10. That is 6,000 acres of land planted with fake seed. You see the implication on that. So if this is replicated in other places.
Now, meanwhile, the Ministry of Agriculture has reassured the subsidized fertilizer program, which has aided numerous farmers, remains untainted by that controversy. Now, despite the turmoil, the Kenya Bureau of Standards is conducting tests on the alleged fake fertilizers, with results pending. Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi has dismissed the uproar as exaggerated, affirming the integrity of the program and the distributed fertilizers and announcing that the impending arrival of additional supplies to meet growing demand will make a difference. Ode Francis now reports.
Amid fears from farmers that they could be buying substandard fertilizer as they till their land for the next planting season, their fears could have been confirmed Wednesday. The Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, has come out to say that the fertilizers flagged as being unsuitable for use is not certified by KEBS.
The product being distributed is not certified by Kenya Bureau of Standards. The product is not in the government subsidy program as per the information we have. Honorable Member, the product which Kenya Bureau of Standards initially certified is different from what has been seized from the various NCPB depots in the country.
Appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture and Livestock, the National Assembly, KEBS Managing Director Esther Ngari explained that KEBS had signed a certification contract for the scheme of supervision and control with a firm called SBL Innovate Manufacturers Limited.
Because the way you put it, it's like you're saying it was during routine market surveillance. Now, routine market surveillance means that your officers are surveilling these products.
Our investigations revealed that SBL Innovate Manufacturers Limited engaged in the misuse of the KEBS standardization mark on a product that was not certified by Kenya Bureau of Standards.
According to SBL Innovate Manufacturers Limited, KEBS tested their products and approved them, saying those condemned as substandard and counterfeit were not their product.
KEBS kwa nini hawajatoa results zile tumeambiwa atoe? Tunajiuliza. Hiyo ndio swali tunajiuliza na tunataka tu watuambie, na ningetaka watoe result za silka. Ile tuliambia wa main component, watu wote wamekataa, tunataka wazitoe. Ndio kila mwananchi ajue ukweli.
Ngari, however, insisted that the fertilizer was not among the subsidized fertilizer that is being sold by the government, sentiments echoed by Agriculture PS Paul Rono.
We haven't seen this product anywhere else in our agrovets, but under the NCPB warehouses, we are able to seize the number of bags which are imported as 5,840.
In terms of repackaging, that one in this administration is nil by mouth. You will not get anybody even behaving like changing the quality, the content, and the size in terms of quantity of the fertilizer.
The committee that is investigating the possibility of substandard fertilizer being sold to Kenyan farmers is set to meet Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi and NCPB next week on the same issue.
Now, 300 herders from Isiolo, Laikipia and Samburu counties have graduated after completing a course in livestock production and husbandry courtesy of a program dubbed Ufugaji Bora Mashinani. Now, this training is in conjunction with various stakeholders who have been out to ensure the better welfare of farmers.
A momentous occasion unfolded as 300 herders from 10 community conservancies spanning 4 counties, Isiolo, Laikipia, Samburu and Marsabit, celebrated the graduation after completing a 3-year comprehensive course in livestock production and husbandry. This transformative journey was made possible through the Ufugaji Bora Mashinani program, an initiative spearheaded by the Northern Range Lands Trust in collaboration with the respective county governments.
Tunaanza kuelewa ya kwamba ufugaji haiwezi katembea vile ilikuwa huko zamani. Lazima tubadilishe mwenendo, tuweze kujifunza na ufugaji bora na ya kisasa.
Both Lekilua and Loimap, who are beneficiaries of the program, noted that, courtesy of the Ufugaji Bora Mashinani initiative, they can now attend better to livestock from their respective conservancies and also proper stocking to avoid losses. Through identifying animals that have been around for way too long and selling them when the price is high, replacing them with improved breeds.
Shukuru sana mchungaji mashinani, na kwa maana amefundisha sisi sana samani ya kujua hata kutunza mali yetu, na sasa tumejua samani hatujui kudunga, na sasa tumejua kudunga. Mafundisho muhimu sana ya soko. Samani tunaenda kuuza, lakini sasa tumejua bei wakati yuko juu na wakati yuko chini.
Bisha noted that the government has made elaborate plans to effectively deal with the challenge of inbreeding that has led poor quality animals over the years. Through free provision of 2 million doses of semen to local pastoralists in order to help them improve their breeds for better productivity. Noting that Isiolo County herders will receive 40,000 doses of semen for the Boran breed and a further 40,000 doses of semen for the improved Sahiwal breed.
The government of President Ruto is going to provide 2 million doses, 2 million doses of semen, free of charge. We have even an AI for goats. And out of the 2 million, how many semen is going to come to Isiolo? I want to tell you. 40,000 for Boran breed, Borana 40,000.
The Deputy County Director emphasized of livestock education to curb cattle rustling, since with information such as zero grazing, it's hard for animals to be stolen.
Indeed, some of my friends here in studio saying who would have thought that herders actually can benefit from husbandry training. And of course, many people having normalized the traditional way of doing things and creating additional challenges in their farming. Well, we are here to disabuse you of such notions. Now, the Kenya National Farmers Federation, or KENAF, has signed a memorandum of understanding with ICRA, a renowned foundation dealing in education, research, innovation, and agribusiness. The partnership is poised to address youth empowerment, agribusiness training for Kenyan farmers, and promote sustainable agricultural practice.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Gerard, you have to explain why you're coming here for the first time. We want to skill these people with these counterbones. We want to give them professional skills for them to do best what they do, that is representing the interests of farmers at that level, which is the county level. So this MOU, I think, is going to be of great benefit, not only, of course, to KENAF members, but also to farmers in general in Kenya, also looking at what the government wants to do, the Kenya Kwanza government. With the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the president has clearly said that he wants to dignify the majority of Kenyans. We know that the majority of Kenyans are farmers. So if we can get farmers to think of themselves as entrepreneurs, if we can get farmers, we can give farmers skills to think and work as entrepreneurs.
We have been for 40 years training trainers who sometimes in turn even train people from the local community, which we call coaches. This is our way of work. And I think through KNAF and all its staff at the county offices, we can do exactly this, right? And I think, we can bring in our expertise in practice-based training and learning, really making, the training of trainers, but even more local level of local change makers, let's call them like that. We can, support KNAF on how to do this very well, so well that people will come knocking your doors for these type of trainings.
Now that story there from the Kenya National Farmers Federation brings us to our first break. As we get into that, just to remind you that we still have a panel of eminent persons here in the studio. Of course, the two gentlemen and the lady standing by with some insights into the conversation around youth and the agricultural value chain. Of course, with insights that you don't want to miss. So let's go to that break now. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Are you ready to make your mark in the world? To showcase your business, event, or special announcement in a way that grabs attention? Well, you can now rest easy with the Standard Group self-service platform, allowing you to book ad space in the Standard newspaper hassle-free. So say hello to your brand's visibility courtesy of Standard Ad Center, which is self-service friendly, easier, faster, and smarter. Book your ad in the Standard newspaper from the comfort of your home, office, or wherever you are. Because it really is as easy as visiting ads.standardmedia.co.ke/ads to follow the prompts and make it count for your business. A product of Standard Group PLC.
Maricón chapatimba, zing chapatimba, tuna chapatimba, cheza kama wewe. Na chapatimba hadi dreams zime come true, skill imejipa.
Mr. DJ mziki tunangoja, mchelewa mziki tunangoja.
Umetuweka na mziki inashika kutoka kwa kanisa na mpaka kila boda.
Uko kwa Yesu ni full vibe, vibe. Uko kwa Yesu ni full vibe, vibe.
Uko kwa Yesu ni full vibe, vibe, vibe. I say together.
Vibe, 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 vibe.
What is worrying is that she's messing with Mimi. And that's a bit strange.
Don't worry. When she's tired of hiding, she'll come.
They Muslim guy with a kitambi. They think she's going to work better than me.
Is my house a hotel?
Broken.
This Easter, only on KTN Home.
If I could grow a magical tree, it would be a tree that produces potatoes.
What is the recommended time of planting onions, and how can it vary depending on different climates or regions?
Normally, when you are growing crops, we look at the market value or the demand in the market. I like planting onion during the dry season so that I can harvest after 3 months.
A twisted story of revenge that will steal your hearts. A daughter will bear the punishments for the sins of her mother.
Vengeance is soon going to be mine. Their lives will be ruined, and a daughter will bear the punishment.
This is not a love story. It is a story of hearts broken by revenge.
So what?
Broken faith.
Only on KTN Home.
Tufanye kazi pamoja na tukue pamoja. Kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
Indeed, as our jingle says there in this show, we give you news that you can use because it is our role indeed to enable the prosperity of Kenyans right across the agricultural value chain. And to get us into a conversation, in Kenya, the youth are categorized in the age bracket between 15 to 35 years. Now, they form the bulk of our population by far, and the active involvement is essential in shaping Kenya's farming future for ensuring long-term food security. And of course, by harnessing their energy, creativity, and technology survey, the youth can drive agricultural transformation, foster economic development, and contribute to sustainable development in this country. Unfortunately, that has not been the case so far from where I sit. And of course, the fact that the average age of a real-life breathing Kenyan farmer is assessed at about 64 years of age. Why is this the case? Well, there are many different answers to that. But with me here in the studio, essentially to help us dissect this topic and of course talk about what can be done to get the youth into this agricultural space. Again, I'm joined by Ronald Dianga. He is, well, first a farmer, an agripreneur, and an agribusiness and technology in agriculture professional. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
And of course, Farmer on Fire, Wangari Kuria. She is the CEO of a global consultancy that has sought to eliminate hunger and improve safe food production. She's also a farmer, an aggregator, and an expert of the value chain. Really nice CV right there. Karibu sana. And of course, last but not least, Jahail Oliver, CEO, Hello Tractor. Well, this is a technology conversation, Jahail. I want to start off with you and the fact that when we started hearing about Hello Tractor and the difference that it would make in the value chain, indeed in helping farmers mechanize their work and that sort of thing, many people would have thought that this was a breeze and was already happening. What were the gaps that you sought to sort of fill?
Well, as far as agricultural mechanization on the continent, you have a variety of challenges. Access to capital being one of the biggest issues, particularly at the base of the pyramid. So in Kenya and across Africa, less than 2% of bank lending goes into agriculture. So there's very shallow capital markets to support farmers. And then if you think about in Kenya in particular, smallholder farmers dominate the ecosystem. They're often reliant on manual labor. As a result of that, they plant late, they undercultivate their land, and they lose income at the end of the season. And so tractors are a big solution to that problem. And technology is what enables both the flow of capital, but also the efficient pairing of equipment to farmers, and that's where Hello Tractor comes in.
But just 2% of budgets, that is a massively inadequate figure.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is the case? It should be visible to everybody.
Yeah.
And then with agriculture being the backbone of most of these economies, it should be a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, it's high risk. Agriculture is very difficult, and kudos to the farmers out there feeding the nation because they absorb a lot of the risk. And oftentimes banks want no part of that.
Yes.
And so as a result, there is a undercapitalization of agriculture. And even for Hello Tractor, our core business is providing farm equipment owners with the technology to remotely monitor and manage their equipment. And then community-based agents can use a separate application to book farmers to connect with those tractor owners. And you know, we've been at it for 10 years now across Africa. In Kenya, we've been here for 6 years. And the challenge for us was also capital, and we had to bring new capital into the market and not necessarily rely completely on commercial banks because they just weren't willing to lend.
We'll talk about the risk and the fact that you've now graduated to actually providing finance for some of those people, but I want to bring in the Farmer on Fire. And the perspective here is that while Jahail will focus on the aspects of agriculture that need large mechanization, large tracts of land, you've actually been able to focus on something that does not require much land, just a bit of innovation, and not that much in terms of hard technology, but making do with a lot of the things that you can find in your ecosystem. Talk to us about that.
Yes, so thank you for the opportunity. And for us, it's focusing on that woman who is at home, who still has so much domestic responsibility, lacks capital, lacks access to some of these resources that are needed to become a massive producer and get profit from that. And we're saying that you are not forgotten, you are not left behind. Most of these are women. And we are saying that this is something that you can do in your backyard and still grow food, support the food system of the country and make an income for yourself.
So then the fact of the matter has been that we are starting to see a lot of food go commercial. that people in cities, people in small towns, people in the suburban areas are actually going out and buying food rather than farming it themselves. Now, this creates a value chain that anybody can get into. So where does that lady start?
She starts with getting technical know-how. We have this assumption in Africa that everybody knows how to farm because our great-grandmothers were farmers, our mothers were farmers. So definitely it's innate, it's in my blood. No, it's not. It is a skill. Treat it as a business just like any other. Get the information that you need to start and figure out what are the revenues like, what are the investments that are needed, how much time will it consume, and then go into it. When you have all this know-how and you have calculated your business the way you want to be, and in that you can be able to make a profit and approach your people. The other thing is that agriculture is not treated as a one-off, like I'm gonna make money, I'm gonna make 5 million out of my onion crop. That is not agriculture. It is a business. It takes time to grow, it takes time to cultivate, increase capacities, employ other people. And so we are telling people that you can really make good money in agriculture, but you need to give it that respect that it demands as a business as well.
So we then have to need that grand vision that you just talked about, making money at a large scale, and of course the person starting in the backyard. But hold that thought. I want to bring in Ronald. And the fact of the matter is that you are supposed to be at the strategic end of this conversation, thinking about the how-to and knitting together the value, the supply chains, and the governance and transformation structure for this kind of thing. Where do we start?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting just listening into my colleagues here because, again, the first and foremost, as Wangaria said, agriculture needs to evolve into being a business. And so the moment you look at it from the lens of a business, then you have to, of course, have the fundamentals of any business.
Yes.
And that, of course, I mean, in my experience as a small farmer, and I think there are those, simple lessons that at the end of the day, at the end of cropping season, are very important to learn. And one of the things that I realized when I was farming about 2 years ago, that now at least I have corrected, is at some point there are some costs that I couldn't include in as part of my operational cost, right? So at the end of the season, I think I've made a profit, while ideally I've not made a profit, right? So looking at all of this, and I just wanted to bring that, very subtle experience, because I believe those small things still feed up into the bigger picture. And I look at now, everybody, Corona comes about and everybody wants to go into farming. But one of the critical questions that people never ask themselves is, how do I want to engage in farming? And I think for me, and in my understanding, is agriculture provides a huge opportunity for each and every one of us, and with numerous opportunities across the value chain. So the starting point is identify across the value chain, where do you want to participate in? Do you want to be at the tier, lower level of production? Do you want to be at the point of providing the inputs? Or do you want to be at the marketing? I mean, there's a whole, array of opportunities for you. So you need first to identify which area do I want to.
So in essence, what you're saying then, and that's a question I want to pose for you. So the first thing, is agriculture for everybody? Yes or no?
Agriculture is not for everybody.
Exactly. So then that we say that if agriculture is not for you, in the traditional sense of the word, then you can find a different space within the value chain,
That's right?
So that then we give space to the ones who say then agriculture is for me, to work from a passion perspective, to put in the hard work she talked about in terms of knowledge, to put in then the bet on technology that will need investment and time and that sort of thing, right?
Yes.
So then how then do we get our farmers to start thinking in that frame of mind?
Yeah, I think the best example has always been to lead by example. And I think part of what we at Kenarava did at the very, beginning of our setting up our company was to partner with model farms or star farmers in the communities. And what we were doing at the time was to empower these farmers with the knowledge that we have to be able to better their production. Because at the end of the day, I kid you not, for me as a farmer, two things. Am I profitable?
Yes.
And am I improving my yield? Those are the most critical questions that I, as a farmer, I need to ask myself. So we were able to support these farmers.
No one does it better for children than KTN Home.
Red means stop, yellow means wait, and green means go.
Akili.
I speak English.
Information, education, adventure, and excitement.
ABC 1, 2, 3 and do re mi. Come along and you will see. The more they travel, the more you know. Get ready, let's go.
KTN. Welcome home, kids.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed lives of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
This week on Manspective Africa.
What we do is that we constantly minimize the voice of good men, and then we amplify the voice of bad men, and then we decide that the entire agenda is evil and wrong.
When we are going to talk about, fighting for rights of women, when you join as a man, you're looked at like unafanya nini, but I am not your enemy. Yes. I am an ally. I am also saying we need these things to happen.
Men are not finding home within our communities because then we're judging ourselves based on what we are driving, where you're staying. If you're shaming men, how will a man ever find peace within men? A boy, when he does well, he wants his mom to say, good job.
Yeah.
Only on KTN Home.
Joro, baru go bank?
Yes.
Nakam, 2 minutes, sawa? Some people make request for phone order na zima simu.
Can I send you to my mom? Yeah, ako Dubai.
Stacy. Umesikia niko na haraka? Ndakupatia 1 star.
1 star.
500. Pesa ni mambo ya dunia. Nimekulipa na baraka. Ati wewe alipa gati.
I'm not paying you nothing.
Ngoja. Wewe. Ngoja.
Leo nabeba watu wa ina gadi hawa.
KTN. Welcome home. KTN. Welcome home.
Well, we first, of course, want to start by apologizing for that technical hitch. This being, of course, Kenya, and the fact that we're still working to improve the quality of electricity supply right across the country. But who's to say what's going to happen? So, but for now, we're back, and thank you indeed for staying with us. Just to remind you, my name is Peter Wakaba. This is the Farm Kenya show. This, of course, being an inaugural episode and bringing you news that you can use from right across the agricultural value chain. Before we went out for that unplanned break, we had been in a heated discussion with our panelists. Of course, to remind you who that is, Ronald Dianga is the founder and executive chairperson of the Kendrava Group. Right. Again, welcome.
Thank you.
Of course, we have Wangari Kuria, farmer on fire. She is a real firebrand around agriculture, of course, speaking to various parts of the value chain, being a farmer herself and an agripreneur and aggregator, and of course, the indefatigable Jahail Oliver. Lots of energy, CEO of Hello Tractor, and of course, part of the passion of being a person in the agriculture value chain in Kenya, what with all the challenges we face, you have to be something of first an evangelist around whatever topic you are discussing, and my colleagues here, of course, show that passion and show it really, really well. I want to continue from where we left off, and of course, the fact of the matter has been that the last thing we were talking about was why people should find various places in the value chain in which they fit, and I'll ask Ronald to just get into that very briefly before we throw it to one of the other panelists. You were talking about finding a place in the value chain for a person, not just as a farmer, but something else. Maybe just bring us up to speed on that again.
Right. Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, 2019, as a company, Kendrava, we decided to go into export of pineapples. Mm-hmm. And the story behind that is that it didn't end well. It ended in...
Where were you exporting to?
To Israel.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's, I mean, the scale of operation is crazy, mm-hmm. and it needs lots and lots of experience on that front, because, I mean, that's sorry for another day. But, I mean, the reason why I say that is because when we, in retrospect, when we look back as a company, we think and we learned the lessons that our niche and our strength were in advisory. Mm-hmm. And that's why we comfortably came back into advisory. And for the past 6+ years, I've been offering advisory to different brands. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's very important to identify where across the value chain do you want to get involved in. Mm-hmm. Then you can now, step by step, systematically be able to pursue on that line.
So what I hear you saying is that despite the challenges, farmers, aspiring farmers, people with aspirations across the value chain should not be afraid to fail, to consistently experiment. Yeah. But then the question would be, what about the expense and the fact that failing can be really expensive in this market? But hold that thought. I want to bring in Wangari, and the fact of the matter is that when you walked into the studio here, you walked in with that very large mushroom.
Yes.
What's behind this? Talk to us about that.
It's a prop. It's something to make people understand what we're trying to say in terms of food production. Yes. It starts with the smallest thing. And even though I agree with what Dianga is saying, because he's thinking at it strategically, but for me, I will always be the person who represents the small-scale farmers at the end of it. Mm-hmm. One thing we know is that there is high unemployment rates in Kenya. Mm-hmm. Young people are desperate. They are educated. They've done even their tertiary levels, but the opportunities are limited. Number two, agriculture seems to be a very low-level entry industry, which I feel like if well empowered, it can even raise and double our GDP. So some people might have the option of saying, "Oh, let me choose what is in the value chain and where I go." And I feel like some people don't have that luxury of choice, and so for those people, especially in the rural areas, we need now to think of them at where they are at. And right now, farming or production in the value chain is what they can do, is what their brains can even fathom. Because sometimes when you aspire for such a huge goal, your brain fights you so much. And so I feel like production is one of the easy ways of easing people into the business that he's talking about, which is also very high risk, but then that creates grit in you, and eventually you can be able to go and explore the other parts of the value chain, I think.
You still haven't told us what you're doing with the
yes,
mushroom.
so
Why
this
mushroom?
is our new product in the market for Farmer on Fire.
Yes.
It is a ready mushroom bag.
Yes.
We have been teaching in our farms. We have farm tours. We have upcoming farm tours. People can check us out on Farmer on Fire social media to see upcoming ones. And essentially, it is a ready bag that anyone can have in their kitchen. They just spray some water and it will sprout and keep harvesting for 2 to 3 months. Mushrooms are known to be zero cholesterol, which means that they are very healthy, and we are seeing trends of people moving back towards indigenous crops that are healthy for our bodies, and mushroom is number one.
So unasema hii ni mboga.
Hii ni nyama, my friend. Very affordable protein source, especially for breakfast as well. And this is gourmet. When you reach this class of eating, then you know that you have arrived.
So how much does that something like that set me back?
Yes, so the bag, which can be transported all around the country, goes for 460 shillings. However, you will harvest up to 2 kilos, and that will amount to around 1,800. So it can be used as a business, and you don't have to worry about figuring out how to sterilize, how to spawn.
Now,
you can just buy the ready bag and becomes
the
a business.
question most people then ask is, if I thought that was going to be a good business, what would I do with my mushrooms? Because I've invested in this, but what about marketing?
Yes, there is a huge unmet demand in the market, and even we are seeing in Naivas supermarket, in all supermarkets currently right now, you go to the shelves and they're just written out of stock, out of stock, out of stock. That tells you that the demand is higher than the supply. Number two, you need to take care of yourself. Your health is your wealth. So as a producer, you also need to take care of your own health.
But then they push back and say that if the opportunity was so much, then Wangari should be supplying all the supermarkets.
I am, and for me it depends on what Dianga said. Where are you in the value chain? For me, I'm a trainer. I want to empower other people to come up, and I also aggregate, as you mentioned, and so I'm able to supply. However, the challenges that he brought up, that having that systematic way of knowing that you can be able to predictably say that I'm going to be harvesting 1 ton of mushroom every week is where we are not there yet. That's why I'll keep training more people until we can kind of come up with a standard way of you can be expecting X kilos from this farmer every 1 week. And then in that way now we can be able to scale up and say, oh, now we can consistently do this. Because most farmers are seasonal.
Interesting insights there. And Jahel, I want to throw that to you. And the fact of the matter being that having come from a different jurisdiction and trying to set up across Africa, the inherent challenges, some of what she's trying to point out, alluding to, the fact that one of the biggest challenges that our agricultural businesses face, and something that you might have noticed in your interaction with farmers and organizations and companies at various aspects, is management and growth. How then do we start to bridge that gap?
Well, in more established agricultural markets, often the government pays for farm extension. In the United States, we have the land grant institutions, which is publicly funded. They have extension, trained experts that don't represent a particular brand, because that's a different type of extension, right? Of course, if I'm buying fertilizer and the person advising me works for a specific fertilizer company,
conflict.
Magically, that's the best fertilizer for my field. Right? And so we don't have that public support because obviously the budgets are much lower. And so it takes innovators like Wangari to fill that gap. It takes Ronald to fill that gap. On the Hello Tractor side, we work with over 1 million farmers now on our platform across multiple countries. And for us, filling that gap, we take a more technology and data-oriented approach. So we just launched a chatbot enabled through a variety of Gen AI models to provide advice to our growers on when they should be planting, what are the best products available in the market for their fields, and those types of best practices.
Yes.
And that's our contribution to the broader ecosystem. Ultimately, that's a free service that we offer. Anybody can access it through our call centers or our apps. But if farmers make better decisions, ultimately they become more productive. If they become more productive, they buy more mechanization services. And at some point, we benefit from that.
Yes.
But I think in the short term, it's really about empowering the farmers with the best information to maximize their productivity and profitability so that they grow.
Yes.
And ultimately, we all grow together.
It's good that you mention information, because having watched things like, for example, you talked about America, and if you look at PBS and something like American Harvest, and the amount of information that they then consistently pump out for farmers, do you think getting younger and younger people into agriculture would then enable this country and others in Africa start to use electronic media as a way to train farmers? I've seen lots of people do things of YouTube videos and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is the person to ask that question of. Certainly, this is a nation of digitally enabled young people. That's right. I'm not even on these channels.
Yes.
I'm not on your TikToks and all that. I'm old, I'm washed up. But the young people engage across these channels, and it's a great low-cost way to get information to them. And if we can figure out ways to curate content so it's quality content and not sponsored content, then I think that's a great channel to leverage. But of course, shows like this are also important, where, you know, you may be sitting with your nana and she's telling you about something she saw on TV, and next thing you know, you got mushrooms growing in your kitchen, some oyster mushrooms. I'm hungry.
Chicken and mushroom.
Chicken and mushroom. You got to add the chicken in there. We were going vegan, and here you go with your choma talk. Okay. So, but I think it's so many different channels to reach young people. And what's exciting to me is, on this continent, by far, that's the richest resource. Populations are in decline across most of the mature economies. And we have an abundance of young people. They're some of the smartest people on earth. They're teaching themselves everything from, on our team. I can speak to our employees. We hire exclusively from the markets we operate in. These young people are teaching themselves artificial intelligence, coding, the best in hardware engineering and Internet of Things technologies. They're teaching themselves over YouTube videos. And they're running laps around kids graduating from Stanford and Harvard and some of the best universities. I know this from my own personal experience, hiring people from these great universities and hiring young people who've been sitting around on YouTube all day, and they figured out how to earn themselves some pretty attractive salaries. The same thing is true for agriculture. I'm enthusiastic about the young people and what they can do to catalyze broader based growth. And as Wangari mentioned, agriculture is foundational. It's 40% of the continent's GDP. If you change agriculture, you change the economic reality across the continent. And it starts with young people.
I want to bring you, Ronald, back into this conversation, especially of what he said about the transformational aspects. And we've seen for decades, for a very long time, for years, NGOs, other bodies come in, throw money at the problem, lots of financing, lots of cash, but in terms of tangible, sustainable growth that you can build on, or transformation, not much. We've been talking about transforming the way farmers do their farming in this continent for as long as I can remember. How then do we make sure we start to get bang for the buck, get the real results that he's talking about, especially from the point of view that if we start to engage with young people, from the point of view of getting them into agriculture, rather than working with people who are already in the agricultural space, you then achieve transformation.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we are able to first and foremost look at what the problem is, And I think that already has been documented. And we know what limits young people to engage in agriculture. But be that as it may, I think there's also still an opportunity, even for non-profits, to be able to bring this transformational, philanthropic capital, to be able to facilitate some of these programs and some of these interventions. And I want to speak to My journey. I was not interested in agriculture 7 years ago. And I am a petroleum geologist. So that's, of course,
interesting.
Very far away from agriculture.
Wow.
But I want to, confirm that I'm in this sector to stay because of the opportunities that I saw in this particular sector. But that opportunity came as a result of being able to see other examples of young people who had made it or who are going to step ahead. And that was Mr. Agriculture, Roger Skerwa. And in my interactions with other young people, one thing that has come out very clearly for me is that young people strategically want to get into agriculture, but I think the biggest challenge has been, the decoration around agriculture.
Yes.
We present agriculture as drudgery. We present agriculture, for instance, as, a retiree's job. But I think, and I know for now, that agriculture in itself can be a business. And that's why, for me, I think to excite young people to get into agriculture is one thing, but to provide the means for them to be sustainable in agriculture is another thing.
Yes.
And how we can be able to do that is, of course, capacity building, like Farm on Fire said.
Yes.
That's very important, and we've seen programs, government-led programs that are able to provide these capacity building exercises. But that doesn't stop there. We need also to provide the investment to facilitate, these young people to be able to set up this particular agribusinesses. So, it's a whole web of different activities and initiatives, but at the very core of it, we must be able to show the young people the reality again about agriculture. Because one thing that I learned is it fascinates me to grow a crop.
Yes.
While the other, it fascinates him to build an IoT device, for instance. And that's why, for me, I always insist that let's enable young people to see the opportunities that are across the value chain. I respect production. I currently have a farm in Nyari that I'm using as a model farm.
Nice, prime place, yes.
Yeah, but the reality again of the matter is not everybody can go to the farm like I do. But how can we be able to show them that these are the opportunities that exist, and then bring in that transformational capital or investment to be able to support them on that end. Just to kind of also end, I am very, very, very passionate and happy about the young people who've taken the leap forward. Because agriculture in itself is not easy. It's difficult. We were just discussing with Joel about the challenges, but the constant innovation by young people themselves is showing and is evident that young people can be trailblazers in this sector. And I want to talk to my fellow young people.
Yes.
That it is very, very important that we have to step out of our comfort zones. It's high time that we go at those big, opportunities and, be able to grasp them. And it doesn't have to start big.
Yes.
You just need to start small. Farm on Fire knows our friend, for instance, Eric Onchonga, who runs eRehab. He's a medical, what is it called?
Technologist.
Yeah, tech person. But right now runs a successful, irrigation company.
Wow.
You just need to start. And nobody said that you have to always, start
Hit
small.
it on the first time, yes.
Keep learning, keep innovating, keep going. And the other most important thing for my fellow friends is partner. You can always increase impact when you partner.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to partner with the biggest brand. You can partner across, business.
Synergies across the value chain.
Exactly. And you can be able to make it.
Okay, I want to bring in Wangari here. And the fact of the matter has been that even as we talk about the aspirational aspects, the people who are making it big and shining a light for others, it has to start from as simple as an increase in productivity. The lady who has one cow may be working to get a second cow, and if that then becomes every farmer, 100,000 farmers who double their output of milk, transforms into quite a serious kick for the industry, and that across the entire value chain. So how do we then start achieving those small wins, which built over incrementally then translate into something big?
I think 2 points. The first one is partner. We cannot underestimate that, because that's also what you learn what other people are doing. Last year, but one, we were doing a Haifa international competition for Hello Tractor. And we saw the power of synergy of people coming together to say, oh, they need so many points, we need to go, but how can we do that? And it's by synergizing and coming together that we saw
to illustrate
people
your point, and sorry to interrupt you, Partnering could be as simple as, well, you're the farmer who does the milking of the cow and delivering it.
Yes.
It could be that then you have a collective way of delivering milk to the cooperative or getting your milk to market. It could be that you then also have a person who has specialized in finding animal feed,
Yes.
who you all buy from rather than doing your own.
Exactly, exactly. You don't have to do everything. You can look for those partners that will make you succeed faster. And obviously, number two, there is the idea of fear. That we don't bring in. When people hear about entrepreneurship, they're just thinking, "Oh, that's 1,000 ways to die," and it's true. You might die, but you might also succeed. Success and success and failure are two sides of the same coin.
Yes.
So let us, remove that fear from entrepreneurship and just go at it. I know there are risks involved, but I feel like if I keep doing this, at some point, something is going to give.
Jahel, 10 years and you've been able to get to 1 million farmers. Do you think we can accelerate that by driving the youth into agriculture in one way or another and getting them to have passion for increasing productivity to the point where that you have 1 million new farmers in 5 years?
Yeah, absolutely. It took us 10 years to get 1 million farmers. By the end of this year, we expect to be at 2 million.
Wow.
So there's a dramatic acceleration.
Yes.
I agree with the panelists. Partnerships are important there. With this campaign that we ran, with Farmers on Fire, when we launched our tractor finance product, we announced in the market, if you book 1,200 acres of land, it has to be the right type of bookings and the right type of land in the right locations. But if you do that, you can get a tractor, right? Pretty simple, right? And largely folks who would not be able to go into a bank to get financing for a tractor. And through the partnership, we were able to get the word out, and we were oversubscribed on the first facility, which was $5 million. We did a second facility, which was an additional $5 million. We did that one through ABSA Bank, so shout out ABSA Bank, Kenya. $5 million was, I don't know how many shillings.
About 600.
I can't keep up, that thing bouncing around.
700 million. Yes, give or take.
Give or take.
Yes.
And what is it today? Yes. Anyway, so, and we exhausted that pretty quickly, and that's accelerated the number of farmers that we've been able to work with. Over the next 18 months, we expect to do $60 million. You tell me whatever that is in shillings.
So I have two quick questions based off of that. So first off, what kind of risk have you experienced in terms of, after the uptake, are people able to service their loans and financing consistently?
Yeah, we sitting on, which camera am I supposed to?
Right here.
We got 2% NPLs, okay?
2%?
2%. Standard Charter, NCBA,
much
ABSA Bank.
worse.
Tell me, what's your NPLs?
Yes.
Ours sitting at 2%.
Wow.
Okay?
Yes.
These are people who are traditionally unbanked.
Yes.
They are getting equipment to service smallholder farmers.
Yes.
There's real business there. I am not an NGO.
Yes.
Okay? We work with the entire ecosystem, from government to NGOs to the private sector. But Hello Tractor is a for-profit business.
Yes.
We have made approaching 200 loans now with 2% non-performing loans.
I'll definitely get you onto a different show because that math is just crazy.
It's crazy.
Now, my second question.
But hold up. Shout out to James and the team who manages the Pay As You Go team and product. That's not me.
Yes.
I'm just a pretty face.
Hey, wow. So pretty face. Here's the second question.
Pretty face. Go ahead, man. Talk to me.
Yeah. So, and you hit it on the head.
Yeah.
The shilling and the dollar have been all over the place.
All over the place.
So what happens to the farmers, the agripreneurs who got the tractor, and maybe at the time you sold it, maybe giving the facility to $2,000 per pop, and because the exchange rate went, looking at a steep 40% hike in repayment, what happens?
So we lend in local currency.
Yes.
We will never expose our customers to the volatility between the the shilling and any hard currency, dollar, euro, whatever.
So did you absorb the back end?
We absorb it, but through the way we structure the facility, which I imagine is not for this conversation. We put a first loss layer in the facility, and we model that loss. So a part of the repayment that you make as a customer
goes to covering that.
It goes to cover that. It goes to cover your maintenance and your spare parts. It goes to cover your insurance.
So you do the service as well?
100%.
Wow.
Anybody who owns a tractor in this country knows that after-sales support is a challenge. In our service level agreement with our customers that we finance, we guarantee a 24-hour turnaround time.
Okay. I want to go to the other panelists. 30 seconds each. Out of this conversation, if there was one thing that you thought we would want to say that we want to achieve out of this, 30 seconds.
I think for me, absolutely, we need to get more young people excited about agriculture, get involved in agriculture, and build business around agriculture. But we can't do that if we have, corrupt people around the system, like what we saw in the fertilizer and seeds, because already that in itself shows a lot of risk. Because young people cannot be able to access facility, for instance, has been a challenge. Capacity building is still lacking in terms of how we can get to learn more. If you add the challenges of fertilizer and all of this, it becomes much more difficult and it multiplies the risk. So let's get young people excited about agriculture, but also let's invest and partner with them.
Definitely, and they will be able to hold people to account much better. Wangari.
Yes, for me is in line with what Ronald is bringing up. And for me, I'm going to go specifically on the research institution. So much research is being done. A lot of money has been poured. Bill Gates is funding research institution to come up with the best cassava, the best wheat, the best, and it's typically for our soils, for our climate. So the potential there is so big, and I'm sure you've done articles and news updates to show that for sure this type of millet will do exponentially much better than what the farmer is currently having. But then you get to the ground and it got to 10 farmers. So we are saying that there is a problem there. We are not specifically saying it might be corruption, but the bottleneck needs to be checked, that for sure that investment that is going towards empowering that farmer comes through.
Yes, pretty face, 15 seconds. Okay.
15 seconds, conservation agriculture. We had a wonderful leapfrog opportunity when we, as a nation, introduced digital payments through M-Pesa. I think a new leapfrog opportunity presents itself to adopt best practices in conservation agriculture, no-till, crop rotations, leaving crop residues on your field, so all the farmers listening to have better resilience in the field. While improving your yields, while minimizing your input investment, is switching over to conservation agriculture.
Okay, indeed. Thank you very much for that session. Really, really interesting conversation. Definitely want to come back to it. I will be talking to my people to see when we can get you back in studio in just a few days, few hours. Definitely. But a really insightful conversation there. But before we go, we want to get into a farm guide session where my colleague Kelly Boss has been talking to Dr. Paul Kangetha, who's a young vet, on how to start and run a dairy farm. Take a look.
It is fine. Yeah, I just woke up and with the passion to help farmers. Then there comes, it's my duty to make them informed and help them make informed decisions and help them run their farms into profit-making businesses. My name is Dr. Paul Kangetha. I am a veterinary surgeon by profession, but I decided to pursue journalism just to make sure that the information that is in the hands of the vets reaches down to the farmer, as well as the information that is in the agriculture space to trickle down to the farmer, to help the farmer make informed decisions, and most importantly, that the farmer may be able to run their agribusinesses in a way that is going to earn them profits and earn them livelihoods. There are several breeds that are in the dairy farming space, and these dairy breeds include but are not limited to Jersey, Fresian, Guernsey, and Asia. So these four are the main that people have. Others are crosses between these cross breeds, and I mean between these pure breeds and other indigenous cattle. So for a farmer, really, I do not really focus. I would not advise a farmer to focus on maybe a particular breed, but they should be able to narrow down to production per day, because that is where the business is. Because for a farmer keeping any of the above mentioned breeds and they are giving them 3 liters of milk, be it a Fresian for example, you are not in business. Why? 3 liters of milk, if you multiply, that cow cannot feed itself. That cow cannot even be able to acquire the veterinary services. There are people in the farm who need to be paid, maybe the farm hand and the suppliers and people like that. But for you to say you are in dairy business, your cow should at least be able to give you 20 liters every day. And since a cow is in production for around 305 days every year, by the cow coming on heat once per year and giving you a calf per year, then the period of time your cow is supposed to be in milk is around 305 days or thereabout. And therefore, you as a farmer should be able to make sure that you are earning at least from that cow 20-25 liters on the minimum. But there are some other breeds that can take you even up to 50, 60, depending on how you take care of that animal. But any animal that is below 20 liters, if it is then a single cow, then you are not in business. Then there is also the issue of numbers, because you may be having just a single cow, which then may be even producing 60 liters of milk, but you are not in business as well. Why? Because there are so many bills to be paid. But with numbers, say you have maybe 10 to 20 to 30 cows, but starting from 10, for example, then you are able to have a very good business case. Why? Because while some cows are in the dry period, some are giving birth, and others are coming on heat and are being served. Therefore, your consistency of production is across board. The whole year you are in production. The breeds, therefore, you focus on the production per day, whatever the breed is, but some have advantages over the others. For example, the Jersey, the butterfat content is higher than the rest of them, about 3.5% going up. And the Jersey also feed on small amount of feed, given that they are small body sized. Therefore, you stand a better chance of if they are getting you to the 20 and the milk is quality, then you stand a better chance. As compared to, say, Fresian, which is eating too much and then maybe giving you the same amount. So when you do your cost-benefit analysis, you find that it would be more profitable for you to raise Jerseys than to raise Fresians. But now each has advantages over the other, and therefore you need to seek that information as a farmer to find what are the advantages of one, the advantages of the other, and therefore you can make informed decisions. You cannot talk of dairy farming without feeding your animals, because the milk you are getting is from what you fed the cows. The quality of cows you are getting is what you are feeding your cows. You cannot talk about being a dairy farmer without you first having in mind how are you going to sustainably feed your animals with products that are nutritious yet cost effective. So for those who are in zero grazing, then you desire to have maybe other facilities where you have done your fodder and where you have done your maize, for example, for silage and millet and other things that you can do for silage, just to make sure that you have enough. And I have visited farms where they just use silage, well-prepared silage from maize at the right age when it's just about to mature. Yeah, and you cut that. It's very nutritious. You can give your animals that, as well as you supplement with hay, good quality hay, of course, from a reliable source. Then with that, then you just need to do supplementation of minerals, for example, dicalcium phosphate. These supprise the enough quantities of calcium, because you imagine you are milking the cow every day, and milk is rich in calcium. So you are drawing from your cow a lot of calcium every milking, and therefore you want to replace that. So you feed your cow, you supplement every day with dicalcium phosphate. Other people then go ahead to use some concentrates. How the quality of the concentrates depends then on where you are getting it from. There are some commercial companies or commercial feed companies which make this, but then they are also available. Are formulas you can use just to buy the raw materials and mix. Then you need an expert to engage on that. Just make sure that whatever you are making is helpful for your cow, and you are not putting too much energy or too much protein, because each production level of the animal, the calves, the heifers, and those that are in milk, then there are those producing 10 liters. There are those producing 20 liters. There are those producing 30 liters. They have different quantities to be fed. And the amount then of concentrates to feed your animal, then there is a formula for that. Because, and we say it is x minus 5 divided by 2. To give an example to make it very easy, for a cow that is producing 20 liters of milk, then you take x as 20. I mean the total production in a day, 20 to be the total. 20 minus 5 becomes 15. Then you divide by 2, you get 7.5. So these 7.5 kilograms of concentrate or dairy meal is what you will feed your cow in a day. So you can divide 2.5 kilos in the morning, 2.5 kilos midday, and then 2.5 kilos at the end of the day. And sometimes milking your cow several times a day increases their milk production by 15%. Therefore, if your cows are well fed, if you are milking twice a day, you milk 3 times a day. And I always say that cows are animals of routine. If you are used to milking your animals at say 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. or even 5 a.m., you stick to 5 a.m. If then the next milking is around midday, noon, sharp, your cows are ready and around the milking para, ready to be milked. In the evening, it's around 4 or 5, then you make sure that you do it at that time. And where I advise farmers to be feeding their animals the last meal of the day area before it's night, just to make sure that in case your animals are maybe having broth or something, you are able to capture that maybe an hour after your animals are fed. Therefore, if you feed your animals around 8 p.m., 9, you will not realize that they are going to broth. Why? Because you fed them into the night. But if you are able to do that earlier in the day, say around 5 or 4, the last milking, and then you feed your animals, that is a perfect scenario. So therefore, feeding your animals right will make sure that you have consistent production. You'll make sure that you have healthy calves. You make sure you have healthy heifers. And these calves and heifers are your replacement animals. They are going to get into the next, they are the generation that is going to be the next milking animals. Therefore, you want to raise them right to be better than their mothers. Because if the daughter is producing less than the mother, then you are not in business. It should be better. Yeah, and that is where now technologies like artificial insemination comes in, to make sure that you are using a good breed to inseminate your animals, and the animal already was good enough, and therefore the daughter becomes better. And then the
for us, we are targeting to mold this youth to become someone who can become a producer. That is someone who can be able to do production right away from the nursery all the way to harvesting, whereby this person can be self-employed or can get employment as a farm manager or a farm supervisor or a farm operator. And that person can be able to grow horticultural crops and also do the marketing part of it. We have a guy who came from Turkana, and he came here, he went through the 6 months training, then he went for attachment. And as we are talking, he's managing a farm in Turkana, and they're doing a lot of farming. And when you see that as a trainer, you are happy, because you can see this student or this trainee has transformed his community back in Turkana. Because Turkana is a very dry area. We didn't expect people from Turkana to be doing a lot of farming. But yes, you're seeing him doing a lot of farming. He's so passionate about it. He's posting all over in the Facebook, in his WhatsApp status. And And he's doing very good. He's managing a church farm.
Well, that was the farm session guide, and of course our farmer of the day, because of course we have to walk and talk the talk. Just before we go to give you a bit of insight into my panelists again, because they are all we cracked them up to be. At my far left, Gehail Oliver, CEO Hello Tractor, aka the face, pretty face, right? You said?
Gehail.
Yes. So he is the CEO of Hello Tractor, also the founder, an agricultural tech company that connects tractor owners with smallholder farmers in need of tractor services. He is responsible for, of course, the overall management and strategy, and has been honored with numerous awards for his work in social entrepreneurship, including being recognized by Foreign Policy magazine as one of the top 100 global thinkers and the World Economic Forum Circular Inaugural Cohort member. Next to him, and by no means less, but indeed quite a firebrand, Wangari Kuria, aka Farmer on Fire. Yes. When you walked in with a mushroom, I wondered, is that magic mushrooms? But then I said, not quite blue. Wangari is the Chief Executive Officer of Farmer on Fire, a global consulting company that is seeking to eliminate hunger and improve safe food production. She is an agripreneur with a rich background as a farmer, aggregator, and an expert on the value chain. And of course, last but not least, Ronald Dianga has over 5 years' experience as an agripreneur in agribusiness and technology. His role spans strategic development, project coordination, and nurturing client relationships, and has worked right across the world with many, many different organizations. That, of course, brings us to a close for this session. We will work to get these guests back in studio for a different conversation on a different day, and individually to delve into the various things that we have not been able to go in depth into. But from us here, from the inaugural episode of Farm Kenya, my name is Peter Wakaba. It has been a blast. See you next time, and do continue to enjoy the rest of your viewing.